Yeah, that's an incredibly dramatic opening. Um, this is Commander: The Great War. It's a game that I like to return to from time to time because I think it's really fun. This is a game about World War One. It models the fighting on both the western and eastern fronts, um, as well as the Mediterranean. We'll start at the start of the Great War. We will play as the Central Powers, and we will give the AI uh, privileged strength, which means that they get some more bonuses to their attacks and defenses and research, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I mean, it's a really fun game. I enjoy it. There are some idiosyncrasies to the mechanics of the game that I will try to explain and work through as we play. But why don't we? Oh, there's a briefing video. All right, let's try that first.
With great jubilation and enthusiasm, armies across Europe are mobilizing for war. Everyone is optimistic about a swift victory to be achieved by Christmas. War breaks out when the Austro-Hungarian Empire invades the Kingdom of Serbia. The Russian Tsar immediately vows support for his northern ally, while Germany in turn joins Austria in its support. For a generation, Europe has been an arms powder keg, saved from open conflict by an intricate web of treaties and alliances. The diplomatic arrangements have kept the peace, but the mix of imperial colonialism and age-old national feuds push tensions to breaking point. The alliances to prevent war just cause it to spread faster. In this age of mighty empires, this will surely be the greatest war the world has ever seen. The First Two World War. Through mass conscription, millions will be called to arms. Industrialization produces weapons, guns, and shells at a rate never seen before. Death and destruction will now be achieved at an unprecedented scale. How will the tactics and strategies of the 19th century uphold in this new age? How will the face of Europe change after concluding this great war?
Cool. I don't know that I've ever watched that. Really cool period footage that they included in here. Let's start the campaign as the Central Powers.
The Serbian enemy is ill-equipped for battle hardened from the Balkan Wars and has taken up positions in mountainous terrain. While our Austrian army has numeric superiority, reinforcements will soon be needed in the east to meet the threat of a Russian invasion.
Okay.
Germany is expected to begin an attack on France very soon. Both nations are gathering forces near their mutual border, but the Germans intend to bypass enemy positions by sweeping through Belgium. The Russian Empire has access to huge manpower reserves, but its mobilization is expected to be slow. Even so, fresh German and Austrian armies will soon be required on the eastern front. The Central Powers are thus aiming for a quick victory in Serbia and France, so that they can turn their attention to Russia, Paris for lunch, with dinner in St. Petersburg.
Quite optimistic. Let's start first. Okay, cool. We are in July of 1914. This is the early period of the First World War, where the Empire of Austria-Hungary uh, mobilized to attack Serbia. Pretty quickly after that, in early August, um, Russia would enter the war and attack Austria-Hungary. In response, Germany would enter the war and go to war against Russia and France. And by its invasion of France through Belgium, it would call in the United Kingdom on the side of the Entente. And then I think in 1916, Italy joins the war on the side of the Entente. Bulgaria, I believe, joins on the Central Power side as well as the Ottoman Empire. And then Romania joins on the Entente side. And of course, in 1917, the United States joins on the Entente side. So that's a quick overview of I think what will happen over the course of this game. I don't expect us to go into 1917. I think that we will be able to achieve our goals by end of 1916. Um, One of the really weird things that happens with the AI in this game is that once Italy joins the war, um, because Italy's um, border with Austria-Hungary is there's now a new border here when Italy joins. The AI will sort of analyze that as a hole that needs to be plugged, and so what I've seen in the past happen is that they will take out chunks of the front here in France and ship them to Italy. Um, so Italy will be, the Veneto region will be pretty well defended, but then huge holes in the western front will appear. Not the greatest sort of for role playing this war. But it is what it is, and I think by the time that Italy enters the war, we will. It'll be pretty clear that we will have held France, right? We will be marching on St. Petersburg in Russia. We will have already defeated Serbia, and it'll be pretty clear by then that we will win the war. But it's a weird thing that happens, and maybe it'll happen again. But anyway, maybe I can start by sharing what the strategy will be. The strategy historically, of course, was what was described in the briefing. Um, the Germans thought that they could, via invasion through Brussels, um, circumvent the primary fortifications along the German-French border here, and circle around Paris and attack the French armies from behind. That was named the Schlieffen Plan. It was largely successful in that I think there were 5 or 6 German armies that invaded through Belgium, and they were able to get within, say, 25 miles of Paris in August and September of 1914. But pretty quickly, the French and the British and the Belgians were able to solidify a front and then a counterattack along the Marne River. And then the front solidified, I think, maybe somewhere around here where my cursor, where my cursor is, or maybe out to Metz. No, Verdun for sure, and Nancy. But that would be where the front would lie for the better part of 4 years. It swings back and forth by dozens of miles here and there, but not much after that. And then, of course, trench warfare would ensue, and stalemate would ensue. But the German plan again was to bypass the frontal fortifications along the German-French border and invade through Brussels. We will kind of do that. I think that our goal will be to take out Belgium, right? Because um, Belgium being an independent country has its own production. We want to be able to stop them from having their own production, which means that we need to take their capital, and I believe also Antwerp, um, and then their armies will disappear and they'll surrender to us. After that, we will stop um, our forward movement and allow the French to um, um, attrit their forces against ours and along pretty defensible lines here. Um, the main focus um, for the Germans and the Austro-Hungarians will be to defeat Serbia. Historically, Serbia fell, I think, in 1916. The Austro-Hungarian army had a ton of problems pushing through really difficult terrain and battling a pretty experienced Serbian army. It wasn't until the Germans actually sent their own forces into this front to aid the Austro-Hungarians that Serbia finally fell. Once we are able to take Serbia, we will effectively be able to move all of the forces from this front to the Italian front and to the Russian front along Przemysl and Lemberg, Brest-Litovsk, and into pushing into Ukraine, modern day Ukraine. Um, so that will be our primary goal. It is to defeat Serbia immediately, as quick as possible, and then be able to clear up resources for other fronts. Along the Eastern Front, it'll primarily be to attrit down Russian forces and attack where we have strategic depth. So the front line along the Eastern Front will sort of snake around Königsberg and sort of south and then west into the Masurian Lakes area, and then around Warsaw, down through Krakow, and then again east through Przemysl and Lemberg. It is a very wide front, wider than the French German front, for example, the Western Front, which will mean several things. There is potential for the Russians to mass troops in and around Warsaw and potentially cut Prussia off, Eastern Prussia off, through an attack toward Danzig, for example. We'll try our best to prevent that from happening. But on the inverse side, it means that the Russians have a wide front to defend or to advance through, which means that in Eastern Prussia and in Galicia, here, the Galician region, the Germans and Austro-Hungarians have and can potentially have strategic depth, which means that the Russians will have maybe 1 or 2 units here on the front, but we may have 3 or 4 lines of units here able to attrit the frontline units and then continue to push in and then trap Russian forces within modern day Poland, Warsaw area. That will be the plan for the Germans and Austro-Hungarians on the Eastern Front until we are able to defeat Serbia. It will be to hold the front line, make sure that these key cities do not fall, and to trap Russian forces in opportune moments. Okay, so so that's the European sort of front. A lot, I think in late 1914 or maybe early 1915, the Ottomans will join the Central Powers. So this entire front will also open to us. of course, in I think early 1916 or maybe late 1915, the British and some French units will land at Gallipoli. That'll be pretty easy to fend off. When they land, they typically don't have supplies, and it's a matter of just surrounding their forces, starving them out, and wiping them out. That'll be pretty easy. But the real sort of purpose of the Ottoman Empire is to hold and suck in resources from the United Kingdom and Russia. So down here in the Sinai, the Ottoman Empire borders the United Kingdom's Egypt, and we will probably either defend along the canal here or allow them to push in through the Sinai Desert and defend along these three tiles, and then that'll shorten the front to allow the Ottomans to adequately defend. The really you know the really sort of unfortunate part about the Ottoman Empire is that their forces are not very strong at all, and so they can't really advance, right? So like, of course, I'd love to take Egypt from the United Kingdom. That's ultimately the goal. But from 1915 to 16, our goal will be to hold the line and attrit the United Kingdom as much as possible in this front. At some point, Saudi Arabia will also rebel along, I think, around Medina. So that'll be that front in Egypt. The other front for the Ottoman Empire will be the Caucasus here. The Russian Empire will send some units around Sukhamish here. We will likewise send forces to Erzurum. That's probably not pronounced right. But we will send forces here. This is very easily defensible terrain. Not only is it mountainous, the supply lines for the Russian Empire will be quite stretched by the time that they try to attack. So this will be a pretty stable front, but it's important for us to adequately supply this front as well. So the primary role of the Ottoman Empire, again, is to attrit resources for the United Kingdom and the Russian Empire along the Egypt line and the Caucasus line. And of course to defeat the British and French landings in Gallipoli. Once Bulgaria joins, we'll be able to connect this rail line here from Serbia on down to Bulgaria to Constantinople. Theoretically, you might think, oh, maybe we'll be able to send up Ottoman forces up to the eastern front or the western front, right? That's not going to happen. The Ottomans will likely need the assistance of Germans by that point to hold the line. So it's nice. It's a nice thing that we can do once these rail lines are linked up. But by that point, I think that it'll be clear that we've won the war. Of course, the Ottoman Empire can receive reinforcements from the Germans and Austro-Hungarians, but they will need to move by ship until these rail links are connected. And moving by ship through the Mediterranean is quite dangerous because you'll be combating the British Navy, the French Navy, and eventually the Italian Navy. And it'll only be the Ottoman Navy and the Austro-Hungarian Navy, and they're just not very strong comparatively. The Russian Navy does exist in the Black Sea, but it's not very strong, and they won't be able to sally out through the straits here. They just won't be able to come out. Okay, so I think that is the strategy. I believe that I've described everything on that front. Maybe I can just quickly go over what these symbols and numbers mean. Right now, we are only controlling the Austro-Hungarians because they're the only parties at war at the moment, at least in the Central Powers side. So that's our flag there. Production points refers to a number that we can use to either purchase units here. So you can see that we can purchase garrisons that'll cost 10 production points here, right? It'll also cost manpower, right? So 5 manpower. We have a total of 1,600 manpower in total. It'll have an upkeep cost of 2 production points per turn, and it'll take 2 turns to complete. And then here you can see the statistics for a garrison unit. We probably won't be uh, uh, deploying many garrison units. I think our main the main sort of unit will be these infantry units that are significantly more powerful than garrison units. Of course, it means that there's an increased cost to purchase, manpower cost, upkeep cost, and completion cost. The time it takes to raise up and then train them adequately, but it's worth the weight and the cost. Um, and the other unit, of course, is the artillery. Artillery is incredibly important for us, and I'll describe that a little later once we maybe start fighting in Serbia. This here is ammunition. This is what is used by units like the artillery, like the dreadnought, and the bomber. I think the railroad gun also uses ammunition. Um, this is modeling artillery shells, right? During the First World War, there were several points throughout the war where there were just strictly artillery shell shortages that either prevented one side from adequately defending a front or defending against an attack, or um, uh, the shortage um, uh, being unable to sort of support an attack. Um, One example, of course, is during the early stages of the war when German industry was able to maintain some degree of artillery production, but the French and British industries were not yet set up and established in an industrial way to support the constant use of artillery shells, and that'll play out a little later. And this all I'll say right now is that this ammunition production is incredibly important. Um, this is railroad capacity. This is a 1. This is transport capacity. This is also a 1. This represents the number of troops we can move on rail and on ship at any one time. So if we look here, the map is you've got your rivers in blue here. You've got your grasslands in these sort of light green shades. Forests in these darker shades. This is a marsh. This is the Pripyat Marsh. Mountains are these gray zones here, but and there are no roads modeled, right? But what is modeled are these rail lines, and so you can move if your troop is adjacent to or on a rail line, you can move them either by marching them. So that marching them would be the sort of these white dots here, or you can rail them from railhead to railhead, and railheads are cities. So you can see that we can move this garrison unit from Vienna down onto Sarajevo and its adjacent friendly, controlled regions. So, theoretically, it would take maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 turns to move to Sarajevo. If you move them by rail, you can move them in 1 turn. Likewise, for transport, it means that you can board your units onto ships and have them move around the waters. But we won't be doing that very much as the Austro-Hungarians. This refers to national morale. National morale is incredibly important. It models the fighting capacity of all of your units. So if your morale drops down to, let's say 80, their fighting capacity will be much reduced. And it'll continue to grind down to the point where the nation falls apart, which is what happened, for example, in the Russian Empire in 1917. You might be winning the war. You might be pushing the Germans out of Russia and into East Prussia and onto Berlin. But if your national morale tanks because you're losing so many um, soldiers on the front, the this sort of models the sort of internal um, um, willingness of your population to continue to fight the war. So okay, that's what these numbers are. Here is again the production tab. You have these units here. Cavalry are nice, but we won't be recruiting very much of them. They're sort of outdated in this time. Armored trains, I don't think that we'll be using them. They have to be situated on rail, and they're quite weak. Fighters are important. They are used to scout, and if you want, you can attack any enemy positions as well to soften them up for your own attacks by your own infantry. Airships are the same way, and these of course are your ships, your light cruisers, your dreadnoughts, and submarines. You'll eventually, through research, be able to recruit armored cars, which are also kind of useless. Railroad guns, which I also don't use. I primarily use artillery units. Armor, of course, your tanks. They are important, but they come really late in the game, very late stage unit. And bombers. Bombers are nice too. But the core of your army in this game are your infantry and artillery, your fighters, and of course, depending on your strategy for the Navy, your ships here. Here are your sort of historical generals. They are not automatically recruitable. They are able to be deployed once you achieve these conditions. And so, let's say if you want von Hotzendorf, you have to inflict 5 kills and suffer 5 kills. So that that's it'll be we could do this on the first turn, if we wanted to, right? I mean, we just here you have 5 losses if you attack. So that'll come very quickly, and there are a number of historic commanders that you can attach to your units on each army. On each nation's armies. So the UK has historical leaders, France, Germany, Russia, the Ottomans. We all have historical units and leaders. Here's your research tab. This is really interesting. This research is divided into 5 categories. This is ground unit technology. This is infantry, artillery technology, naval tech, Air Force tech, and then vehicle tech. This is your armored car and your tank tech. So you can select. Each technology is automatically being researched, but you can focus your nation on one kind of research for the time being, and you can see here what the effects of each research will be. So what I think is incredibly important right now for the Austro-Hungarian Empire is to research industrial warfare. And in this case, it is, what is this research called? Base defense +4. Okay, I guess it's just called industrial warfare. So we'll just take focus here, and this research will be completed quicker than it was before. You can also see here that this is our current stockpile of production points, manpower, and our ammunition. Here you can see our expected income of production points. We'll gain 17 next turn. We'll also gain 4 artillery shells next turn. Over time, you'll unlock the research trees for artillery, navy, air force, and tanks. Diplomacy, this is not as relevant because the game sort of because, yeah, you can see here that you can go ahead and declare war, let's say on Portugal, right? I mean, it wouldn't help at all. Right, you can go ahead and declare war on the U.S. if you want to like really have an interesting game. We're gonna follow the historical route, and you'll see here that that's modeled here. So France will join in 2 turns. Germany will join in 2 turns. Oh no, that's Belgium. I'm sorry. Germany will join in 2 turns. The UK will join a turn after. Russia will join in the turn after. The Ottomans. So in 9 to 11 turns, that's probably. I believe that each turn marches 15 days. So that's probably early 1915, and then Italy, of course, in about 20 turns. So you can see here when you might expect other nations to declare war, and try to prepare for that. But we have a pretty good plan at sort of how to do this already, so we're good on that. But this is the diplomacy tab, and you can see you know who is who, and when they'll be joining the war. So this tab here, the last tab, is the management tab. This is a really important tab. It shows your victory conditions, but we kind of know what we want to do. It shows your upgrades that you want to have. So you can see that you can also have an overview of your finances, right? So this is your manpower reserves that are based on that will be an input to the economic output. Your production points. This is the income for production points. This is the upkeep of your current army. This is research upkeep costs. So because we have a focus, because we have one factor, one quote lab, right? We have one lab working on infantry tech. There's an upkeep of 1, right? So that is modeled here. What is this? Okay, so this is the balance of these 2 production numbers, and then the next turn, 59. I guess that's what we'll have at the end of the next turn if we don't spend any of these 42 production points. And spoiler, we will. The other really critical piece about this management tab is this factory. So right now, the ammunition production level of the Ottoman Empire is 4, right? So current production is 4. If we want to increase that to, let's say, 5 or 10 or 20, we have to invest in factories that increase our capacity output. And the way we do that is by purchasing factories. So we'll do that right now. I think that's the most important thing. It is to increase our production. It is to increase the production of our artillery. We can also eventually increase our railroad capacity and our shipping capacity. So if we do that, it means that we can move more than 1 unit on the rail line per turn. But we won't need to do that anytime soon. So what I'll do now is just again purchase this factory. We now have a production of 5 per turn of artillery shells, and it'll cost. The cost of that was 25 to build that factory. The next cost to increase it to 6 per turn is 30 production points. So to get 6 ammunition shells per round or per turn, we'll need to expand it by spending 30 production points. In the same way for this railroad, for example, to have more than 1, let's say 2. Trains, will have to build that train, and we spend 120. We have to spend 120 production points to do so. So that is an overview of these sort of tabs here. This is our army. These are small garrisons that are locked to the cities that they are based in, so they can only move within 1 hexagon or 1 tile of the city. These are garrisons that can move. These are infantry units that can move. This is my cavalry. This is a fighter, a very early war fighter, and this is our artillery. And again, and we also have a navy. So we have a dreadnought, we have a pre-dreadnought, we have one more, we have an armored cruiser, and we have a submarine who we will move, let's say, out here. Yeah, to scout out. So we have the French Navy already out here in the waters between, well, I don't know. I guess just the what would we call that? The central Mediterranean, below Sicily. Sorry, east of Sicily, below the boot of Italy. I don't know. Do we come and attack them? Pre-dreadnought. Can we attack? Let's not attack yet. Let's bring these guys out. And this is a pre-dreadnought. This is an armored cruiser. Yeah, let's get them out so that we can attack next turn. We want to split our army up in an adequate way to apply pressure on Serbia and defend Premysl and Lemberg from Russian attacks. So let's move artillery. Actually, let me think. This. 1, 2, 3. So we'll kind of have to move these guys this way. Okay. Oh, we can do that, and then that goes there, and then he goes there. Okay. And then we can move artillery down. I'm trying to think of how to move, in the most efficient manner. Okay. We don't need our artillery unit to keep there immediately because we want to build up our stockpile of ammunition. We can move our plane closer. Let's do that. And let's move our plane, let's say there. Yeah, scout out more of what's behind the front lines in Serbia. And you can see here that these little squiggly lines, they represent trenches. So they're already entrenched. And if we click on a unit, we can see, yeah, their entrenchment is 4. I believe that it can eventually go up to 10 upon further research. But they have entrenchments, which means that our attacks will be pretty devastating on our troops. So let's do this. Let's move units like this to create a front. We'll want to, I think, take Belgrade first. Surround Belgrade as much as we can. And then after that, depending on what holes appear, takes Sarajevo next. This cavalry unit, I think I do want him at the Serbian front to exploit any breakthroughs. Okay, and then what I'll do is I will move this infantry unit by rail to get closer to the front, and then this garrison unit this garrison unit I will leave around Vienna to potentially move by rail next turn. Do I have enough troops? Probably not. I need to move more closer. So I'll do that. I think I'll also move one of these infantry. No, I think maybe I should have them stick there. So then I'll move this garrison unit next turn. Okay, to them, to help them out. All right, and then... okay, let's move these around, because what I would like to do is when Russia joins the war, we're not really going to attack them. They're in a really strong position, at least compared to us as the Austro-Hungarians. So what we'll want to do is get our troops into these cities. And how do I do this? Yeah, let's swap them here. And then because they're in those cities, their entrenchment, sorry, their defenses go up, right, a little more, and they'll be able to build trenches along here to make attacking and taking these cities much more difficult. I know, do I want to move them up a little more? I think so, so that we can have a better defensive line here, and then this garrison unit could probably take this position here. Okay, next turn. All right. Is that it? We can't really move anything else. I guess we can attack. Do I want to attack? We can attack this Serbian unit here, and it'll be favorable. So you can see here that when I click a unit and hover over an enemy unit that's adjacent, there is a combat prognosis. So the green 2 means that we will inflict 2 damage on this garrison unit and receive 1 damage in return. And those are favorable odds. And it'll mean that the Serbians will have less, they'll have to move them back or repair, rather reinforce this unit next turn, which means they'll have less production power, production points. So I think I will do that. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so 2 to 2. It wasn't what it was the prognosis, but close enough, and that'll happen. And 3 and 1, so 3 and 1. Okay, yeah, that was accurate to the prediction. All right. So that's it. We don't have a very large army. Historically, we really didn't, and never did. And not only were we a pretty small army, we were a pretty ineffective army. But you can see here that when we look at being able to deploy von Hotzendorf, who will give us the combat effects of +4 base defense, +1 ground attack, and +1 assault, we already have achieved 5 kills, and we just need to suffer 2 more casualties for us to deploy him. So I think that's it. Can we produce anything? Can we buy anything? Garrison? No, not really. I don't think that I need a garrison at this point. I'll wait next turn to buy an infantry unit. Okay. Okay, that's fine. So we will end our turn, I think. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else we can do. All right. Okay, so they're attacking us. Oh, that's Sarajevo here. Okay, so this is the turn report. It's July, the 30th of July. I think before it was the 23rd. So it looks like every turn is a week long, not 2 weeks. So nothing really important occurred. And all right, sure, we'll continue. So they moved some units up to plug holes in their lines, and they attacked us in Sarajevo. So this is Kraljevo. Of course, this is the historic. I believe this is the historic name of that city. I don't know what the current day name of the city is. Let me just look this up real quick. So Belgrade is here. I have no idea. Kraljevo? Let's look it up. Kraljevo. There we go. Oh, okay. So it's actually a place that's still named Kraljevo. Cool. Okay, cool. All right. So what happened? We gained production points. We gained ammunition. We had 22 last turn. We gained 5, so we have 27 now. Where's the French Navy? Still here. Why can't we attack them? Why can't we attack them with a submarine? Oh, because they're not at war with us. The French have not joined the war. They are one turn away from joining the war. Okay, that's fine. Once they do join the war, we will be in a good position to attack. This is the pre-dreadnought, and this is an armored cruiser. This is an Italian dreadnought. Okay, does it have a name? No, it does not. Okay. So let's move. Let's do the Russian front first. Let's move this like that. So then our infantry units will sort of be here, and then on the flanks will be garrison units that they will all entrench themselves in that way. Let's have you entrench along the rail line as well, and then you can stay here. For these guys, so you did just heal your garrison unit. You did not move them back, so they are exposed again to our attacks. You know, and I don't mind that so much. And I think maybe we can try to exploit that. We might be able to kill this garrison unit. Okay, let's continue to move this garrison unit down. I think I will move this infantry unit like this. There. All right. So yeah, let's try. Let's use the fighter to. So this symbol here looks like a battery. What this refers to is your efficiency, your unit's efficiency. So right now, this is efficiency of 10, 10, 10. You have efficiency of 9. Efficiency means your ability to fight, basically. So if it goes down to 0, for example, you become incredibly weak and susceptible to attacks, for example. By attacking with my fighter, not only is the computer predicting me to kill one of their units, but we are also predicted to bring their efficiency down by 1. So let's try that. Okay, so we did not kill them. We did not kill a unit. It's still at 8. But we did bring their efficiency down by 1. So that's good. Our artillery is not close enough to shoot their units at this time, which is fine. But what I'll do is I'll move this unit down. And they can still attack. I'll move this unit down, and they can still attack. I'll move this unit as well. I will move our horses down, and I will move. I'll move our artillery. I think maybe here. Because if we move, so artillery can shoot 2 tiles. So it can shoot every tile adjacent to it, and the next one after that. So I'm not sure how to describe that. 2 tiles. Okay. So if we move this artillery unit to this tile, it can shoot the horses, the cavalry. Sorry, but it cannot shoot anything else, right? Or rather, it can, but our units occupy those tiles. So if we move it, let's say here, we can have momentum to shoot the cavalry and then eventually also Belgrade. But I don't know. I mean, it might have been preferred to move them here, but our fighter is there. It's fine. We'll move them here. So next turn, they can shoot at these cavalry units and attrit them down. And then so now we will use our most healthy infantry unit to attack this Serbian garrison unit. And now there's a chance that there's a mechanism by which a unit can retreat from an attack. There's a chance that it happens for this garrison unit. Hopefully it doesn't, but we'll find out. Let's see. So, okay, they lost 3. They lost 2 to 2. These are really bad outcomes. Okay, but we were able to still defeat them, and not just defeat them, but destroy them completely, which is really great. Which means that the Serbians will have less units to plug up their lines eventually. Right now they have plenty, but we'll attrit them down so that they won't be able to in the future. So we've destroyed one unit, which is really great progress. We will. Do we need to repair them? I don't think so. I think that I'd rather use our production points elsewhere. Let me think. Because we can also buy a lab. Oh, no, we can't, because it costs 45 to do so, and we don't have 34. Should we get more artillery? We can. We can. Is that too optimistic? Probably. Do we probably just need another infantry unit to be deployed in 4 turns? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 on this front. We'll probably have 2 more Germans joining here. Oh, and then this cavalry unit here. So I guess it wouldn't hurt to have 1 more infantry. Okay, so let's buy infantry. Cool. So we bought them. We can, of course, cancel it and be fully refunded our production points. But you can see here that this is the production tab. And as you purchase units, it'll fill up. And it shows here that it'll take 4 turns for this unit to build. So we will wait. And we will be patient. And I think there's nothing else we can do. I mean, I guess we have some left over, so we can just repair them. So we repaired this unit in Sarajevo in case they come and attack again. We do have holes in our lines, but as the Austro-Hungarians, I actually don't mind if they come and attack us and try to sort of surround our units through these holes, because we will have more units appearing, being produced. We will also have the help of the Germans, and we'll be able to fend them off quite easily. Whereas the Serbians have much less production capacity than the Austro-Hungarians and Germans, and so the more that they do that, the less they'll be able to defend their own front line, which means they'll collapse even sooner. So that's actually preferred, and I will let them come attack us if they want to. Okay, so I think that's it. I guess we can make attacks, but we don't need to. Can we actually have this unit? We can. Does he come next turn? Probably. Yeah, I don't see him deployable yet, so he'll probably come next turn. That's it for now. Let's... Oh, and one more thing that hasn't been talked about yet. Well, I guess we'll wait until next turn for the Germans to join, because there will be supply lines and merchant convoys. And I'll talk about it later. So let's... I think that's it. Let's end our turn. There's nothing else. Okay, all these nations join the war next turn. Great. All right, let's do that. Okay. End turn. What will you do? Okay, you're attacking. Great. Germany declares war. Germany has allied with Austro-Hungary and declared war on France and Serbia. France stands tall. Germany's declaration of war does not come as a big surprise. France's armies are confident that they can deal with German aggression. Belgium has been invaded. After the refusing of their ultimatum, Germany has declared war on neutral Belgium. The British are outraged and have vowed to assist Belgium in the war. The ultimatum that they refer to is the German ultimatum to Belgium to allow German troops to march through Belgium to attack France. And of course, Belgium refused to do so because they were a neutral country, and Germany sort of, this is, okay, anyway, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. So our war effort increased to 85%. So presumably we get more production points per turn, and then all of these countries have joined the war. And now we have Germany here, who we have access to. They have a ton more production points, a ton more manpower, more ammunition, more railways. There's a transport and our national morale. Very nice. Okay, yes. Okay, so von Hotzendorf, supremely confident in his abilities of both, rather in himself and his armies, Conrad von Hotzendorf favors preventative attacks on the enemies of the empire. However, the realities of war and its consequences often escape him. Let's deploy him in a pretty central location. So this red shaded area is his sort of influence area. So again, I think that he adds, yeah, so 4 defense, 1 ground attack, and 1 assault. That those statistics will influence all units within that red shaded area. So we want to have it not like, out here where, it won't affect nearly anyone. We want to have it in a pretty central location in the middle of our lines. So we'll do that in this unit, this infantry unit. And so he's attached to this infantry unit now. Okay, so let's zoom out a little more. We can see now that we have access to Germany. We also can attack these French ships. We can. And then we can also, so you can see here that, the French had a good idea. You would entrench your border with the Germans, and let them, attrit you. But the German Schlieffen Plan called for the encircling of these French armies in the frontiers via this broad motion through Belgium, along northern France. This is what country is this? This is, I guess, a Low Country, around Paris, and then attacking behind these French armies in the frontiers. So we will mimic that in a way. We will take out Belgium, but of course, I don't think that we'll make a lot of headway into France in our war. Germany does have submarines. They have a pretty good navy that I think I will move into the Baltic Sea so that they can challenge the Russian navy that's in the Baltics. Let's do that. Do we need our submarines? Nah, we don't need them for that. No, we don't need them for that. Let's consolidate these guys. There's a submarine here. Let's move you out. Cool. The Russian Navy, does pack a punch. I believe they have a dreadnought, a pre-dreadnought, and an armor cruiser in the Baltics, probably in Petrograd. But the Germans have a much stronger navy, and we'll be able to take care of them pretty quickly. Okay, so again, our goal is to hold the Russians. Are we at war with the Russians yet? Not yet. But we can move units to support the Russian front now. It is getting pretty close to the time where I think that I will stop this recording. Oh, that's cool. You can zoom out and sort of see who's at war. But then I will stop the recording here, and in the next part we will figure out how this next turn will play out with the Germans at war. So I'll stop there. All right, thanks.